Hello and welcome to the Southbound Sports Show. I'm your host, Richie Leahy, here with my co-host, Maddie B. And kicking off a week for the NCAA basketball tournament. But I can't even talk because I'm exhausted. But before we get into that, I'll talk about the marathon. I finally ran it, completed it. It honestly wasn't as bad as I thought, but there were more hills than I expected. I ran the Tobacco Road Marathon. And originally I was supposed to run the Pittsburgh Marathon, as I think I talked about on the show, but then I had some family conflict, and I thought I didn't want to back out, right? So I wanted to find one around the same time. And apparently in the South, it's too hot. So all the marathons are either in March or around like November, which makes sense. And I didn't want to wait an entire year just because I knew like the Oak City Marathon, when I ran it, you're running kind of like through a greenway and through the city, which has a bunch of hills in it. And like I knew the hill by NC State like killed my legs. So I thought, I'll see if I could get, like, I didn't really want to go to the beach, right, and try to run one that was more flat and then have it just like be awful because like you drive all the way to the beach and then you don't make it and you're stuck. So the Tobacco Road one was the closest one that I figured I could make work. I knew I was going to be crunched for time. And then when I was in the car accident, I lost like a month of training, which was a huge setback. And I thought, do I defer it? Because you can always kick it back like a year. And I thought, no, let's just ride it out. My goal was to just complete the thing because they give you 7 hours. Some of them, I think maybe the Raleigh Oak City one might have been 6, which I would have finished that anyway, right? But just in terms of like trying to plan for it, I knew the Pittsburgh one was 7. So when I saw this one was 7, I thought even if I like completely die, I should be able to like limp or crawl whatever mileage I needed back. But it was almost like on an...
I like your optimism. I can almost die.
Well, I figured I ran the half marathon, right? And there were some adjustments that I probably could make. I looked to see if there were any like more laid back fun ones. And of course, like there's not. Like, you know how like the 5K ones, they have like a rolling start. You just show up whenever, or like a fun run type deal. And I thought maybe like if I could find something like that, it would be better. Because the worst thing if you're doing any runs like this is I hate the start time. And it's always at 7. You have to arrive like at 5 in the morning. So I get up and I drive over. I get there like at 4 to catch the shuttle. Cause at least like, of course I didn't pay for the parking pass cause I didn't read through all like the logistics part of it. Cause like, why would I, you know? So then they're like, I get the email. It's like, hey, we're sold out of parking passes. I thought, you know what? I probably should have researched a little bit closer, like a little bit before the date as they do the countdown. The other bad thing that really hurt my timing, because my goal, I had a whole workout plan. I worked it out with like my Garmin watch and they have the coaches on there and I just modified it online, right, to get it perfect from running the half marathon to the full marathon. But the downside was when I was in the accident and I couldn't run, it really was like, you should probably not run it. And I thought, well, I'm going to train up until as far as I can get. And I only actually ran like an actual 18-mile before the race. So I was going to add on, what was that, like 8 miles on the day. And so I knew there's probably going to have to be like a tamp down walk run component at the end. Because I ran the first half at what I ran the same speed for the half marathon I ran in November, which is my goal. Try to just run it consistent. I found the pace group, which I think I talked about last time. They have the pacers, but at the beginning, you're in a huge corral. And it starts your time based on when you get across the finish line. So everyone's pushing and shoving to have their start time get closer to like the actual like buzzer. And then immediately half the people in front of you just start walking. Because you're up, the beginning was like an uphill for the first like 2 miles or something. And so everyone's walking. So I end up actually running like an extra 0.2 of a mile or 0.3. which wasn't as bad according to my watch, because in the fall, like I ended up running like another half mile, I think, because I was running around all these people, wasting all my energy. Like, get out of the way, get out of the way. This time I kind of just stuck to the inside path with the pace guy, knowing like, okay, this pace guy's going to eventually either make it up or do whatever, but at least he was kind of on the straighter path to where I wasn't running as much. Because like if I would run an extra half mile on the half marathon, double that distance, I'm running an extra mile for no reason. Like, yeah, I get that there are going to be people like near the front. And so that was one thing I learned. I tried to look at the elevation chart, and honestly, it didn't really match like my experience. Like, because you're running up the first part, you run up the 2 miles, then it seemed like it was downhill for like 8 miles or so. And then there were some dips, right? But it was almost like a slight incline, which I didn't expect because they advertised it as like, it's a flat race, right? And so I think if I would have ran, especially in some of the colder ones, I was biking indoors, I think it probably would have benefited me more if I went indoor and just even slow jogged on an incline treadmill just to because my quads gave out. Surprisingly, my lungs felt good. I honestly felt much better. And I think that's a part of just doing the extra bike. Because I think I've talked about it before, doing the indoor bike, then running outside, it's just different muscles in your legs. Because like I could bike and feel like the different things. I think the biking, I could feel it in like almost the arches of your foot. I don't know if you've had that happen where you talked about like your feet are getting tired and banged up. And I can feel it stretching on the bike, but when you're doing like just a 2-hour session or an hour session, honestly, I did most of my bike sessions for just like an hour pretty hard. And by like 2 months in, like the arches of my feet stopped hurting. And then even running, I've noticed like doing this compared to the half marathon, my feet not really banged up at the end of the race. Like my toes weren't like numb. Everyone always talks about like, oh, your toes are going to be numb and stuff. And honestly, I credit that to the bike. I think the bike, just having like the ball of your foot on the pedal and having it kind of stretch didn't hurt me this time. So honestly, I think after this run, I felt much better. I expected it. After I ran the half marathon, I was sick. Like I had to force myself to eat. I feel like I was going to throw up. This time, no, I know I tamped it down at the end, like kind of just stuck with my thing. And I think that's kind of like what I learned. So the only thing I would do next time is try to make sure that consistently, hopefully give myself more time between races, right? Obviously I had to accelerate my plan. Losing a month really screwed me. But I found in a couple other guys that were doing the same thing when we were waiting, right? Because I got there, I kind of just stretched out, meditated by myself by a tree, and then went up to the Porta Johns, and there's a couple like other older guys there that I ended up just like hanging out with and talking. And they were doing the same thing, like first marathon, doing it kind of like on a whim. And they were like just trying to finish around the same time. Like the pace I was running. So I'm like, all right, cool. I got like some other guys doing the same thing. So like we were kind of running a lot of the race like together with the pace people, and they were kind of like chatting us up. So like that helps take your mind off things. So I did bring headphones. A lot of people have the headphones on. I personally don't like running with headphones because you don't know. Someone yelling at you. They had medics riding bikes back and forth, right? Like people checking to make sure people aren't passing out. And so like, I just didn't want to accidentally get hit. And then especially near the end of the race, you had like people living in the homes also using the trail. Because like realistically, they can't block every entrance if you're running a trail. Because it was like the tobacco trail. It used to be an old train trail or train track. One of my friends told me. And so it's kind of like flat. But it's gravel. And they had it like kind of paved on one side. And then they had a gravel path. I tried to run on the gravel path for like the part that I could, which is about maybe 6 miles of gravel. Because I thought, what's the difference? Am I going to get more speed running on the pavement? No, right? I'm going to keep going at the same pace. I might as well try to like at least cushion my blows a little bit. But then, yeah. And near the end, I thought they advertised it as like downhill finish. So I'm thinking like, all right, when we come up, we ran for like 2 miles uphill on this road. And then on the way back through, it seemed like we couldn't have been going the same way because it was back uphill, and only the last 2/10 were downhill. And maybe it was different for the half marathon because it did say the half marathon and the full marathon had a different finish path. But I thought, there's like no way this is the same like uphill run. Like, what are we doing? Because the lady's like, last hill. And I thought, oh, good. I'm like 2 miles. Like, it's going to be a little like bunny hill, and it's going to be all downhill. And I'm going to try to like coast and see if I can like pick up my speed. No, it was like uphill. My legs were just burning. And I thought,
oh, there's the finish line.
Yeah, I was like, I can hear the music, right? They're pumping up. They have like everyone at the finish line. And I'm like just going uphill. And the guy's like, you can do it, dude. I'm like, I'm finishing, man. I'm already here. If I had to like roll down the hill, like they'd be like, what's that guy doing? He's rolling down the hill. I'm like, no, I'm making it. Right. Because I looked at my watch. I'm like 23 miles in. I could easily finish this. Like even if I had to limp, but like I said, I was surprised. I brought my own water. I didn't wear like a shoulder pack. Right. I think some people, a lot of people had them, but the one I trained with was like big and bulky. And so I just had a water bottle that they gave me a belt where the bottle was on the front, and it was like rubbing my stomach, which is like one of my only injuries. Like I have like it's not really a blister, but it's like where the bottle cut my skin. So I ended up I was like, well, on the fly, I guess I should have tested that carrying thing. Cause the other one I had has it on the back, and when I have it full, then it bounces around. And I thought, I'll just use the one they gave me, right? Up front, it won't be bouncing, but it like cut my stomach because of the way I couldn't like position it. So I ended up having to hold the water bottle, and I didn't want to throw it away because I didn't have like anything else. And so every water station I would just walk through, fill up my water bottle, and then like chug a Gatorade and just go. And then as I had to eat, I had all my own gel, so I didn't stop at like any of the food tables until near the end.
Were they going to have any food for you?
They did. And that's what I wasn't sure about, because at the Oak City one, they didn't have as much food. So I prepped it. And maybe it was because, I don't know, people ahead of me got it at Oak City. I did see that they put out a thing after saying that, like, based on feedback, next year they're going to try to have more food there and other snacks like gummies and things like that. This time, if I knew that they were going to be as stocked as what they did, I wouldn't have brought my own gels, because I had it and I had my plan. Like I honestly, I'm doing like a plan to try to just keep it up. So I didn't even really take any of that stuff. The only thing that I did do is they had a couple fruit tables near like the end, like maybe mile like 18 and like 22 or something like that. And so I did eat some bananas and some oranges. Just like walked through, ate them, didn't really try to stop. I did have to stop to use a porta-john like twice. I don't remember which miles. It was like 16 maybe. It was like right around a halfway. So 15, 16. And then like after 20, because at that point I was like just dying. So I was chugging more water at the end than anything just to keep going. They had some of things like jelly beans, and they're like, eat some of this stuff. And I was like, no way. Like near the end, they must have like different things, because some guy was like handing out pickle juice. And so like maybe, but anything, I was like, does that sound appealing? No, not trying it. If I didn't train with it, and because the only thing I was going to try if they had it was like gummy bears, because I figured that like chewing that might take my mind off, like your legs going tired and stuff. But they had jelly beans instead, and I thought, I don't want jelly beans. And they also had these like wrapped up waffle type things, which I figured would just dry my mouth out even more. Falafels maybe or something. So I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. So that's my experience. If you're looking for a good one, like a new one to run, I've been telling people that this is probably a good start compared to the Oak City Marathon. Had a 5K and a 10K component. So they had a ton more runners. And when you're cutting, like I said, you had to cut through. You have people just doing like a 5K fun run, that the corral is labeled, but it wasn't labeled very good. Like when I ran that one, I really didn't know about the pace guys. I didn't really know too much about that stuff, right? They did say they would have like pace bikers or whatever. I didn't really see anyone pacing on a bike. It was more just like I didn't see a bike pacer at all.
Yeah.
So maybe near like the end, like they switch out like people that are running fast. Cause obviously like where are you going to find a pacer running at like a qualifier for like the Boston Marathon, right? So I figured I wasn't running that fast. So maybe I just didn't see where the bike pacer started. But like at the Oak City one, the corral was so big and they had 3 different sections. Like I got in the section I was supposed to be in, and I saw like so many people running slower at the beginning because like they were just taking selfies and like on the phone. I didn't really see that a lot at this one. There were a lot of like younger college athletes there, I think, or at least former ones. Like a lot of people had like on their like Duke outfits, which I figured like, okay, they have a Duke track outfit. Maybe they're a Duke student running the Tobacco Road Marathon. I did see a bunch of people from Cornell, and I thought they have to be from Cornell because who would just buy a Cornell running outfit? Like if you didn't go there, probably no one, right?
People that are fans of The Office.
Yeah, I did notice that there were not a lot of, surprisingly, like the one downtown, there were like a lot of Big Ten runners there. This time, there was maybe like me and 2 other Michigan people there. That was it. I had my Michigan headband on. A couple of the workers were there were like Michigan State fans because I kept hearing people would like say "Go Green" to me, and I thought that was surprising because like at the Oak City, I was getting people for like Purdue booing me and like random stuff, having fun with it. This is more like serious, I guess, because I guess a lot of people were there to qualify for the Boston Marathon because it is like relatively flat compared to like a lot of other city ones. And so I think that made it a better experience because everyone was kind of just like, you saw people like doing ridiculous warm-ups. Like I'm sitting against like a tree, like half asleep, waiting for them to announce that we can line up. And there's like a lady doing like sprints and like doing plyometrics, it looked like, to warm up. And I thought, you're expending more energy than I'm hoping to expend the entire race. Like, what are you doing? But I mean, like if you're wearing full track gear and you're trying to get it done, go for it. So I figured that could be a long-term stretch goal for me. I'm just trying to improve from like the COVID days every year where I couldn't run at all. So to be able to make improvements, I was pretty pumped after that. And so now I know I'm probably not going to run because I have people ask. I'm probably not going to run any longer distances. I would like to try a triathlon to mix it up. My goal would be like, I don't mind running for like, because the marathon, my goal was to kind of get into, if I can just do a 4-hour run. And that's why I said like, I've been training between 3 and 4 hours. I didn't really go more than that. They say you don't really have to do that before the race. Personally, for me, I would have benefited. Like if I would have just started doing, if I would have had another week or 2 to build up and do maybe like 2 weeks of 5-hour workouts, I think it would have been much better. But now I think I'm just going to improve on trying to increase my tempo from like between 10 and 12 minutes. Cause I started under I tried to go a little bit slower. I was right around 11 looking at my pace charts for like the first couple check-ins. Like I kept that pace under 12 minutes. It was really after the half marathon where I was going back up that hill, like that slight incline for like 6 miles, that my legs gave out. And I thought, McMahon, but who has the time, right, to train with that much time? I heard that was the worst part on the bus way back, like the shuttle. There was just some guy, everyone's quiet, just hanging out. And there's a guy just like complaining about his workouts and how his training thing didn't work and how he needs to like, he must not have been drinking the right protein and he thought he could make it in like 4 hours and he didn't make it. And the guy next to me just like rolled his eyes. I'm like, yeah, who's this guy talking to, number one? Like, 'cause I don't know if he was on the phone. Like, I didn't even want to look at him. But I thought, like, what are you doing, buddy? Right? Like, who are you making excuses to? Like, he had to have been on the phone with someone. But I thought, if you're running and you're on the bus with me, you're in the pace group. that were just trying to finish, right? First marathon, you're just trying to finish. If you're complaining because you didn't hit a goal you've been training for all year, like you weren't training that hard. Not gonna lie. So, there's definitely like some people like that. I just don't like get like he wasn't even trying to do the Boston Marathon. Why beat yourself up over it? If he was trying to do like a personal goal or whatever, he wouldn't have missed it by so much. To me. Because like I said, you can wake up. I think that's why I was trying to do like, if just for health, right, and trying to improve, I think long term it would be healthy if like at least once a month I could carve out like a 3-hour window just to run hard, kind of like a simulated, like at least somewhere between a half marathon, because like 3 hours I'd be past half marathon distance, like somewhere between like that and a full marathon, and try to work up and just over the course of a year, even if I'm not training for a marathon, just try to see if I can just keep improving that. I think that would be a good barometer for like just long-term health. Because like I said, I feel much better than the half marathon, and that was all in the span of 1 year. So now I got to see which ones are coming back. I would like to do the full at the Oak City just because that one had bigger hills, and if I could improve my time in a full marathon there, it would be great. So I don't know if I'm going to do that one. I honestly, I would probably just try to do one a year maybe. And if friends or something wanted to do like a fun run, like the Krispy Kreme challenge or something, I could see myself doing that. But people were talking about like, oh, now it's time to start training for an ultra or something. I thought, nah. I barely had time to train for a regular marathon.
And you know what? Those ultras, those are sociopaths. Why would you do that? Where like you can barely walk the next day.
Well, even this, I mean, my legs are tightened up where I've just been stretching. I think that's helped out too. Just having like a better stretch routine and doing some yoga and doing that type of stuff, right? Is probably better than just not doing anything. And I think, like I said, I'm doing this. We're already old, right? I'm not like getting called up to go play sports somewhere. So no intentions. I did see that the guy that won the LA marathon is like 45 though. So he's older than us. And so if you have the training time or whatever, you have it, like there's no reason that you couldn't improve. So that's why I think when you get into the ultra, I did read some about like the health risks of running and like throwing your body off for that long period of time. Now, of course, if you're running at the speed, like if I got to the place where I was running a Boston qualifying marathon time, then maybe it wouldn't be a stretch to run a double. Right? I don't know what an ultra is at 50. So like, I think they're all like different times after that. Oh, let's look it up real quick. Oh, okay. So it's anything longer than a regular marathon. So it could be 31 miles up to 100 miles. I was thinking it was like 50 or more. So yeah, if you're running already at 3 hours, and then like, what's the difference if you're tacking on an extra 5 miles, right? So I guess it would just depend on what it is. So never say never, I guess. But that's been my update. Talking about it on and off. I didn't just ignore it. Right, I knew it was coming, but we had a lot of stuff to talk about this year. Crazy, like upsets. Indiana winning the national championship out of the blue. Now getting into some football stuff. Not a lot of big movements. I keep hearing that the Steelers are going to bring back Aaron Rodgers. I feel like it has to be in the works. Because why would you bring in McCarthy if you didn't know that Aaron Rodgers was coming back? Right? They won a Super Bowl together. You're trying to catch lightning in a bottle for one season. I've heard that the Will Howard hype is just that it's hype, and they might be in the market for drafting a quarterback. I've seen people speculate that it could be Alabama's Ty Simpson for like a 1 year learn behind Aaron Rodgers, you battle it out with Will Howard, and we'll see what we got next year. So for the Steelers quarterback battle, that's what I'm hearing right now. And maybe it's because I'm kind of in like the entryway to the South, and they're like talking to Alabama people. They think that the Steelers are going to make that move. I don't know. I think Aaron Rodgers will come back, though. Otherwise, what benefit does it make for him to keep waiting to say no?
I almost think, like, it reminds me of how they did the signing, where it was like, he's going to do his own thing, and it almost benefits them to not have him signed, because then if they sign him right now, and then he's being a dickwad and just doing his own thing and hiking in the woods, and it's like it's going to look bad on the rest of the team, where they can let him go and be like, well, we're weighing out all our options. And then it's like, oh, actually, we're going to bring him back. Like, then it just, I think it gives their contract stuff a little bit more weight. It's like, oh, we finally have him back. So now he can enter camp or enter OTAs and do the stuff we need him to do.
I think the same thing. Like, I honestly think that that's the direction they're going to go, where have him skip all the training camp stuff.
So that he doesn't have to do all that stuff and just come in. And I mean, when he signs, they're gonna run what he wants to run anyhow. So it's like, don't be excited, don't be in a hurry.
And that's the same thing too. Like, if they do go the direction of drafting a quarterback like Ty Simpson, and then you have Will Howard, if Aaron Rodgers hasn't announced yet, those two can take it like an actual quarterback battle, and you can kind of see how they respond. So it gives you a little insight into next year in case someone else opens up. Because on the other side of it, the other two quarterback moves, both J.J. McCarthy at the Vikings and Michael Penix with the Falcons, both got the other quarterbacks brought in. I don't know if it was like sealed last week. I can't remember what we talked about. But Tua goes to the Falcons, and then they bring in Kyler Murray to the Vikings. You would think that both of those moves are going to have the veterans take over. We have seen it work out where the veteran gets there, and there's a reason the other team let them go. Right? I mean, like, look at Kirk Cousins. He signed a mega deal with the Falcons and never worked out, and they were immediately replacing him. And so we will see what happens, but it's kind of odd that the two national championship game quarterbacks looked like they were going to be starters this year, and then immediately they bring in a veteran hoping to replace them. I mean, I feel like I don't know much about Penix at Atlanta. I thought he was doing well. I know JJ's is more injury. He can't stay on the field. You can't learn. And then
JJ's the Kyler Murray to Minnesota deal doesn't make as much sense to me, because I feel like with the style that they play, it's not. It doesn't play into Murray's style as much. Where I think you could kind of justify the Tua to Atlanta. I think.
Well, they're both left-handed quarterbacks at Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, and I almost feel like that. Like Atlanta, there's some pieces to build on. They have Robinson. They have. I'm drawing a blank now. They have some pieces around that they can build. It just seems like there's like just some management issues with them.
We'll see. I don't know about either deal, right? I could see the Falcons one. You bring him in, and you like that's why I was wondering if Penix has been like injured, because you bring in another left-handed quarterback. We know Tua has a lot of injuries. Is it the plan really to just have him till he gets inevitably injured, and then they just have Penix back in there, so it's not that much of like a difference, right? I know Tua moves around a lot more than what Penix did. But I could see that where it's like, all right, well, we have our guy and we have a fallback guy if that plan doesn't work out. The Vikings one, like you said, it's just too odd. I don't think they're really going to shift the offense around that much. They did a couple moves. I think they cut Aaron Jones, and then I think they brought him back as the saving move. And so, I'm going to double check that right now. I thought they cut him and then they re-signed him. Yeah, re-signs with the Vikings. So he restructured a deal to stay there. And I'm just not sure what their vision is. Because you bring him in, you bring in Kyler Murray. JJ's more of like a pro-style quarterback, kind of like what they were doing with Sam Darnold, which, as we just saw, can win you a Super Bowl, even if he's not like lighting it up. You focus on the defense, you get him a decent offensive line, and you already have the weapons for him. I'm surprised Minnesota's just not bringing in the weapons. Now, for JJ, he's flashed success. He's also been injured all the time. And so you can't really rely on him. Like, honestly, if that was my team, I would be looking for a replacement right away. And we've seen guys that kind of get injured and then don't get injured anymore, right? Like, you kind of fight your way through it, or maybe they're like learning a little bit more and you stop putting yourself in those positions. And that's kind of like what they keep talking about. Oh, with Joe Burrow, like, oh, this injury, that's not going to be like long-term for him. He's another quarterback kind of in the same boat. He had a better early career than what JJ has, but like JJ's already missed the first year. They said last year was his first year starting. He missed significant time last year. I don't really think you can knock him as like a bust in terms of his talent. It's just he hasn't played. By the sophomore or junior year, most quarterbacks make that jump. JJ's so behind schedule. And I think he was, I don't know how old he was, but I think he was an older guy. Did he stay till he skipped a year. He could have came, I don't know if he redshirted though, but he could have came back to Michigan. And that's why Michigan ended up not having a quarterback that one recruiting class when they won the national championship. Because he waited, I don't know if he waited for Harbaugh to go to the NFL, or there was a chance where him and Harbaugh both could have came back and then they didn't. So he could have stayed maybe one more year. So he might not have been as old as some of the other quarterbacks coming out. But still, you miss an entire year. You miss almost half of last year. Yeah, they're going to bring in competition for you. I just thought that it was going to be someone like closer in style. Now, if you build it around Kyler and he doesn't work out, you're going to be like in a weird Jets situation where they're just like changing quarterbacks and then nothing sticks and they have no identity. And you go from there. Where do you go? What moves do you make? You just don't know as an organization. But what if they kept Sam Darnold? What do you think happens? Do they win the Super Bowl? They had the best record the year before.
I don't know if I go that far. I think the stars just aligned where they had a strong, they followed a blueprint. They have, what I consider the Parcells blueprint, where you had a strong run game, you had a game manager quarterback, and you played good defense. You can count, over and over again how many times that this plays out at the NFL. They need, you don't need to have an over-the-top game-breaking quarterback. But if you don't have that elite top 5 level guy, then you have to hit on all the other things. You need that run game to bail you out of trouble, keep you in manageable situations, keep your defense, creating turnovers, doing different stuff that can help compensate, and you can win a Super Bowl doing that.
Well, even talking about the Seahawks, Kenneth Walker now went to the Chiefs, and I already saw the fantasy hype for him. And I thought, man, that's one running back I would not waste an early pick on.
No.
Right? He was already in timeshare with Charbonnet. The only reason he picked it up is because Charbonnet got hurt. And I think Kenneth Walker has also battled injuries. Plus, you have a hurt Mahomes. And what weapons do they have then on the outside? So you have no idea what identity that offense is going to have. Kenneth Walker is not like a running back catching stuff out of the backfield.
When you just talked last week, Kelsey's coming back, but only because he has permission.
Well, yeah, if Kelsey comes back, but what, an old guy? I know how that works. I'm old myself. He's doing something he doesn't want to do because his wife told him to.
That's why he's coming back. He's like, what do I got to do? Spend time with my soon-to-be wife and family? I'd rather go play football.
Well, I mean, that could be the opposite. That's like the opposite Tom Brady. His wife wanted him to quit playing, and he was like, no, I got to get away from you guys. And then she left, where if he comes home, she's like, no, we're not having it. You got to play football or we're done. And he's like, all right, I don't really want to do it. I could do a podcast with my brother. We could stay at home. Do Chunky Soup commercials, please, Taylor. She's like, I need the free airtime on TV. And he said, all right, give me Kenneth Walker. And the NFL said, done. Kenneth Walker.
I like that that's the way that played out.
He's like, I need someone to just take some hits away from me. Get me a nice physical running back in there. Because, I mean, there was a point where they were talking about Jeremiah Love coming in, and instead they get the Super Bowl MVP. How's that happen? I don't know. But any other NFL stuff you want to talk about?
No.
All right, before we get into the college basketball tournament, two other random things I'm going to mention. The first, because I know I hound about TV ratings, and I'm more of a basketball or a baseball fan than like a basketball fan. I know baseball doesn't work on TV. You have the World Baseball Classic now, right? I keep seeing a lot of the same people in the media talking trash on like the WNBA numbers. So you can tell I'm still exhausted, fumbling. I'm running out of water here, still dehydrated. So we'll see how much longer I can make it. But WNBA TV ratings with Caitlin Clark are better than the World Baseball Classic. And I know Caitlin Clark might not last. And they could go back in the toilet. But the World Baseball Classic is supposed to be like the World Cup. So when you're promoting these great numbers and you show me 2 million people watched, that's an embarrassment for something that's supposed to have the best like national baseball out there. And I get that it's up against like the college basketball tournaments and things like that. And so college basketball beating something that should have at least decent numbers. I think the US-Mexico game had like 5 million, which is what I would think that each game should be averaging around. But I don't know. To me, that's not a hyped up baseball number when you see the better numbers in the World Series and how if it should go up higher. It's kind of like the NBA promoting all these games and getting into it. And now they're talking about they're going to have 2 expansion teams, potentially what? Las Vegas and Seattle again? Because Portland still has a team, I think, right? So if they bring back like the Supersonics and they put a team in Las Vegas, to me, I think it pushes more teams back out west, right? Maybe it's just like...
Is Vegas proving itself to be the market that they're anticipating it to be?
I'm pretty sure that was the leak that came out today before the show, is that they're already in motion. Like, I don't even think they're going to vote on it. It's supposed to be Seattle and Las Vegas. And that's going to be, what was the update they gave today? It hasn't expanded since they brought Charlotte back. Now this time they're bringing Seattle back, and they want to formally discuss it on the 25th of March, the next steps. So that's the timeline. You bring back the Seattle Supersonics. You give Oklahoma City their own history. Because like what happens, all the stuff that they had, they're going to scrub. I think that's what Charlotte did, right? They brought the Bobcats back instead of the Hornets, and then it kind of came full circle, and now you just have 2 separate team histories, I think. Like, I don't think New Orleans claims the original Charlotte. They weren't really that good ever, but I think the NBA map compared to other sports, I feel like the NBA is more like West focused. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm trying to look it up and see. Because, like, I guess they have a bunch. Maybe they're just not as good. But if you're adding 2 more West teams, I guess it really depends on what people consider the West. Like Chicago, Wisconsin, like Minnesota, down through like Memphis and like Texas. It just seems like a lot of the better teams are just out West compared to maybe it's just the way it works. Like baseball, I guess LA Dodgers are the best team right now because they're spending better than what the Yankees and the Mets do. You have the Celtics, and that's pretty much it. Maybe Cleveland once in a while, maybe the Heat, but there haven't really been any big time like East NBA success stories. Excuse me. So I don't know. I don't know. Is expansion the deal? They're talking about you bring in 32 teams, and they keep talking about how fans aren't tuning in, and there's a disconnect because you have they used to hype up all the social media like hits and stuff that they're getting, and TV deals are still buying in, which I did bring up a number here. So one of the posters on MGO blog, right, this is what they report as the numbers from the Peacock deal. Because like we've always wondered, like what you put a couple of Big Ten games on Peacock, is it really keeping their subscription numbers up? So they said, and this is like, again, I'm just repeating what someone posted here. So like the Big Ten tournament was on that last week. They said for the Penn State Northwestern game, so like people that signed up and then watched that game, there were around 500 new users, right? That signed up for a Peacock just to watch Penn State basketball play for like their play-in game. Then the other game that was on was Iowa, and they have UM here. I know that's not Michigan. So what is that? Maryland? No, Michigan versus Iowa hoops. Okay, so it was Michigan. All right, so that game the week before, they said 5,000 people signed up and then watched that game, like somewhere around there. So I guess it depends on like the brands, but their average for football games is anywhere between like 50,000 to like 500,000 people are signing up, watching the game. Then it comes down to, well, what's the retention? You pay for 1 month at like, what's the cheapest Peacock plan? I don't know, $7, $10. And then you immediately cancel. Is that like a big windfall for them? I don't know if it's worth it. Right? I mean, I don't know if they're really getting 1 million people to sign up, but I think that's where I know the numbers keep coming up, but there has to be a crash for some of these NBA numbers just because no one's watching. They're losing money with the WNBA. They're subsidizing it. You see MLB where the owners are taking a brunt of it. The owners make it up in Major League Baseball because their stadiums are twice as big as NBA stadiums, and they have twice as many games. So they can have poor TV numbers because they're getting a ton of revenue from people going to in-person games. And honestly, I see the hype. Like I watch some of the preseason Major League Baseball stuff, and I see so many fans tweeting out, like, just got tickets for opening day to the Pittsburgh Pirates. I do it every year. It's like, you do it every year. And you can't break the habit, bro. And set up a counseling. I know Matty B could probably take you on. Come right in, get your fix. Because like, why are you still supporting the team? And then that same guy rolls around July or August, and they're complaining, talking about the owner needs to sell the team. Quit buying the tickets. Right? The fastest way would be as if the stadium was empty. If you want a new owner, because that's where MLB gets their funds. But if people keep buying them, like, what are they going to do? The NBA, on the other hand, they want to cut the games, which is going to really crush their record books, right? You cut the games in half, what do you do for records? Do double seasons? How do you do in Hall of Fame? If you're like legit just cutting the season in half, because hockey's doing the same thing. Stadiums are smaller. Hockey, man, you're not getting the TV ratings, and you're not getting like in-person stuff. I mean, I guess they still sell a bunch of tickets and stuff though. So you're gonna cut your in-person revenue in half. NBA, people just aren't going. Right. I think it would be harder to make it work for baseball and hockey attendance wise. Like they could probably just contract and have less teams, but the NBA adding more teams and then cutting the season, we'll see if it works out. But for those three sports that battle with like around similar TV ratings, with NHL being clearly behind, but having maybe better attendance percentage than like the NBA. I don't know how much is real and how much is like corporate stuff that they float out there. But if you watch a couple NBA games, you'll see that a lot of them are empty. NHL, usually you don't really see that too much unless they just do a better job of hiding it on TV because the camera's always like lower in the bowl, maybe. So I don't know, but that's our other sport update. Anything you want to add there?
Well, I think with some of the seating type stuff, I almost feel like we talked a little bit about how some of the colleges are going that route, where it's going to they're looking to have the increased seating in stadiums and trying to have like that more premium corporate feel to it, because they're looking from an NIL perspective of doing things to be more attractive to businesses. Even though it may cut seating, it may give that illusion of a less filled up stadium, but they're giving those higher end luxury boxes and different things like that. Like Penn State was in the process of getting those renovations updated. Florida State had talked about how they just had their stadium upgrades, and people were commenting on like having a different feel at the stadium.
And that's one of the things Northwestern cut theirs down. Did you say them? Were they like?
I didn't say, yeah, Northwestern went. They went pretty extreme too with theirs.
Yeah, theirs went bad because I was looking up the numbers here. It looks like NHL usually does better, like percentage wise, with a lot of teams just keeping 100%. But the problem with them, because of the ice and the other limitations, this says that their capacity for their stadiums are just smaller, with most of them under like around 17, 18,000, where NBA, even if they're not full, they're able to average around like a little bit less, maybe the same, where they have 18,000 people attending. But they're still bringing in, because of the number of games that they have NBA. So here's a comparison. NBA had 22 million people come to their games last year. I don't know what NHL says, because this one, I'm not going to do all the math in my head. I'll see if it has it. So NHL had 23. So NHL beat them with smaller stadiums. NBA had 22. And then that's what if this is right. And then Major League Baseball had 71 million counted at their games. So their MLB is not going to give up 3 times the in-person revenue of what the NHL and NBA, like even if you combine the NHL and NBA in person, they're not matching it at all. Right.
But I also think those numbers for MLB, like I'm not surprised right now that they're a little bit lower, because when you have the March Madness tournament coming up and like baseball playing 750 games a year, like the beginning month or so really doesn't even matter until you start getting that push. And I feel like a lot of it starts to come down the pike when you're hitting Major League Baseball playoffs along with the college season and NFL season, like all at the same time.
And that's why right now, because I'm trying to look at if they had like a regular season game from 2025 to compare this to. So like, yeah, I guess their average is around, so like MLB average is around 2 million anyway. So basically the World Baseball Classic is just getting a little bit more than what their regular games get. Well, I mean, I guess it's not bad. I just don't see the hype of like hyping it up if they're getting the same ratings as almost like the other sports that just people are talking trash on. I mean, I guess because like some of the highest basketball ones are 5 million. Now NBA averages only 300,000 a game, but that's because they have so many games too. And it's hard to like say baseball doesn't really give an average. It says that ESPN averaged like 1.8, TNT averaged like 400,000. So is baseball really averaging more people per game than what the NBA gets? Why is their TV contract not as good? Because it's more regionalized. What does NBA get? Or NHL, I mean, they're not getting anywhere near that, even if, because like the in-person experience is better. So, I mean, they're getting like even one of their most watched games is like 1 million people, which is sad. But if you go to hockey, if you like hockey, you're going to go to the game, right? You want to be part of the in crowd for that. And NBA is just, it's stale in person. Like, I'm not going to lie. I was very disappointed. And so maybe some games are better. But baseball, at least you're outside. It's going to be nice weather. If it's bad weather, they just reschedule it, right? for the most part, you know you're going to have a fun game. And then we'll see, because like I brought in the numbers for Peacock from the Big Ten. If that's what they're reporting to the conference, that's good news for college basketball, because college basketball, their TV ratings, let's see if it has the updated ones here. So they're getting like 1 million, 2 million people on TV. The big games are getting between like 5 and 6 million. So that's great. Even from the fall, like Michigan State, North Carolina gets 6.5. Duke, Arkansas gets 6.8. They don't have like the Michigan Duke game. Like that's probably going to get at least 5 right on this list. These are all from the fall. So I'm guessing when these get updated, we're going to have bigger numbers. And so now for the tournament, they did the pick'ems. I was very surprised that the SEC got the most bids. This is the last thing I will talk about. They got 10, and they were the worst conference in non-conference play.
Yes.
There's no way they should have had 10 bids. And I'm not even just saying like maybe, okay, well, but the Big Ten should have had another team in. Like, no, they shouldn't have. Right? I was surprised that Indiana was in one of the bubbles where they're like, Indiana almost made it. Like, really? I thought Indiana was like closer to firing their coach than making the tournament. So you have a split. No conference should have that many teams. Really, they really had like an awful Auburn team that had like 3 30-point losses and only had like they were like 17 and 15. Like Michigan destroyed that Auburn team so bad the game was over within 2 minutes. Right? It was such a blowout that it was embarrassing that they didn't mention it on TV, because I think they got blown out a couple other times. That was Michigan's like heavy run in the fall for that thing where they were talking about Auburn has been great. I know the one thing that's sad is Bruce Pearl's son coaches them, and he's on TV like as a mouthpiece, just blatantly homering at that team. It's like, okay, it'd be good if he had like some good insights. Like he's just becoming more of like an annoying guy that's just there talking about his son and trying to just be like, well, I got to talk about Auburn a little bit, or like the SEC or whatever. It's like, dude, why? And that's honestly, like, I don't understand it. I really don't understand it. Like CBS should have nothing. They don't have any contract with them for like football anymore. Maybe they have like a small contract for basketball, but I thought that SEC signed exclusively with ESPN. There's no reason why they need to be propping them up on these other networks. Like, I really don't understand it. The ESPN doesn't even talk about the Big Ten games on their network. So like, why doesn't the Big Ten play hardball? I'll never understand it. You could say that, hey, Florida won the national championship. I don't know who won them before. I don't really remember the basketball ones. Okay, well then why doesn't the Big Ten get that bump in football? Won three national championships in a row. Clearly the Big Ten should have the most teams in the playoff. They're like, nope, sorry, we can't do that. Doesn't work. It's the same BS. I saw a lot of people posting like this year, they took account the Big Ten championship game, right? They said, well, they lost, so they had to go down to the overall number 3 team. And then Purdue is now a 2 seed. But last year, Michigan won the Big Ten championship, and they went on and said, oh yeah, we don't really count we don't count conference championship tournaments for seeding. And then this year, they counted it. So what is it, buddy? Like, how are you not giving Michigan the bump last year, but then Michigan plays well, and they're like, oh, well, maybe Michigan was the best team in the Big Ten. So this year, because of Michigan's sacrifice, now Purdue gets the bump for absolutely no reason, right? Michigan beat them during the regular season at Purdue. It was a split. Should Purdue have been bumped up? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know which teams they really moved down. I mean, honestly, I don't care because Michigan ended up with a great bracket. I think Duke kind of got screwed being the overall number 1 and having like a bunch of teams like St. John's, and I think Michigan State's in their bracket and stuff. And it's like, okay, well, that stinks. I guess they clearly do not want the Duke to win or the ACC to have a solid team. Yeah, they have St. John's. They also have Kansas in their bracket and Michigan State. Oh, and UConn too. Like, throw in some teams that like legit are contenders, and they're like, Duke, you got the gauntlet. Good luck. Because like, honestly,
good luck, private school.
Yeah, and then everyone's like, well, Arizona. I don't know if you saw like the show. I kept it on because like Michigan had just lost the Big Ten tournament championship right before. So I'm like, I'll just keep it on. I didn't really want to move off the couch after running. So I'm like, let's just see what they have to say. And everyone's picking Arizona. They're like, oh, easiest path, Arizona. They're going to come into the Final Four. They're going to be fresh. They're going to just win the national championship. And it's like, okay, if their path is that easy that everyone is picking them, shouldn't Duke have got that side? Right? Like, and then the crazy thing is, they're like, the Big 12's tough. Oh, no, 8 teams, and like they're not getting that many teams in the tournament. They're not that tough, buddy. They're not tough like the SEC's 0.334 winning percentage against non-conference teams or whatever it was. Like, embarrassing. You can't, like, that's the one thing that I think a lot of people are underestimating. The one thing that's going to start to happen is if you just start talking about the SEC being so great, and if they don't win anything, right? I know Florida got a pretty decent draw, I think. Their downside with them is that they have Houston in their bracket. So like we could legit see a Houston-Arizona championship just because I think those 2 teams got the most favorable matchups. And I mean, Michigan's isn't bad either, not going to lie. Iowa State could be the same because Iowa State might be the legit chance to make a run. Unfortunately for the Big 12, you have Iowa State and Arizona that would meet before the national championship. So you're having your best 2 teams eliminated. Luckily, like Michigan State and Michigan are on opposite sides. Illinois is on opposite sides. And we're on the side with Purdue, which I don't think Purdue is the second best team in the Big Ten. Not going to lie. They didn't look like that the entire conference run. So there's the Big Ten got a beneficial seeding and split out because like they doubled down. They're like, Illinois and Nebraska, we're going to put you together. Like the Big Ten has a chance where they could legit get 2, 3, Final Four teams maybe. Like I'm not discounting any of the teams. If the teams show up, it's the bracket is drawn up where the Big Ten can really have a chance to have that happen. The downside, like I'm not super high on Michigan before because like injuries. And it just happens. Duke has injuries too, which I think is what makes it even more brutal for them. Because like Michigan and Duke both battling injuries. And if you want to have chance, like I don't think Kaysen's coming back at all. Duke's guy had like a broken foot bone we talked about maybe. And they kind of left it on the table like he was going to come back. I don't think he's coming back. but you never know because Michigan's Kaysen had a torn ACL. Vandenberg gets his ankle rolled or whatever. So it's kind of, hopefully he's fine and Michigan can kind of heal up. But the way the bracket's drawn up is Michigan can get everyone else healthy and potentially make a run. It just comes down to how big of a deal is the Kaysen injury. Just like North Carolina, their star's out. And then they're going to get Illinois the round 2. Illinois should easily be able to dispatch them. And so you're kind of, like I said, you're kind of setting up the Big Ten to where if Illinois can upset Houston, you could be riding, depending on how good Florida actually is this year. You don't know because I don't think they were that good in the non-conference. And they lost to Arizona, they lost to Duke, they lost to TCU, they lost to UConn, and then they lost to Missouri and Auburn in conference and Vanderbilt in the SEC championship. So realistically, every good team Florida faced, they lost. And yet they're like number 1 seed. Write that down. Number 1 seed. Okay, awesome. Great. But that's my only beef. And Florida could win it again. Give them the benefit of the doubt. I think UConn won the other championships, though. Right? UConn could have easily been the number 1 seed. They choked in their tournament, too, just like Michigan. They lost to St. John's. They also lost to Arizona. And then they don't really have any other losses. They lost to Creighton. That's it. They have 5 losses. Who's the other team? Oh, Marquette. Okay. That's still better wins and less losses than what Florida has. So I don't know what the committee's doing. But do you have any... I know we're going long because I talked about the marathon on the top of the show. I don't want to forget it. Normally I put that stuff at the end. But is there anything you want to add before we wrap up?
And I think you pretty much put it on the head. I was surprised. Well, not surprised that they went ahead and just put whoever the hell they wanted in, as opposed to the people that were deserving.
I'm just happy they put Miami, Ohio in. They went undefeated, I think, in the regular season. Reward them. The fact that it was a debate, I don't care what the schedule is. You can't convince me that a 15 or whatever loss Auburn had team getting killed by 30 against Michigan. Okay, yeah, they played Michigan. Yeah, they got absolutely throttled. What are they getting benefit? Why can't Miami, Ohio just get in? We've already seen Auburn get killed. They're not winning the national championship. They have no chance. At least Miami, his only loss was in their conference tournament. And I hope they go on a run because I hear people saying there's no Cinderellas this year. Yeah, they made Miami, Ohio the Cinderella. Go on a run, but I'm getting all fired up. And then next week's show, I'll be like, do you see Miami, Ohio get killed in that first round? Then they're playing game, right? So I don't know. The fact that even NC State was on the bubble was kind of embarrassing because the ACC, you can't really say the ACC is a worse conference than the SEC. So the fact that NC State's on the bubble when I thought they were easily in, and now they have to play a playing game against Texas, I hope NC State throttles them. Probably won't because, that's NC State's luck. But realistically, I think I'm hoping that we see what we've seen in the past where other conferences are just have a better set of teams in the Sweet 16. This is the time for the Big Ten to step up like they've done in football. Make your stand right now. You have a legit chance. The bracket is set up for you to potentially have at least 2 teams in the Final Four if your teams are as good as what the Big Ten looked like. Big Ten officiating is still garbage. I'm sure that's will be my talking point next week. Right? All the Big Ten teams lost again. Yeah, because they all stink. Because the conference officiating is so different that they all went out there and lost. But I'm telling you, final thing, prove it, Big Ten. You can't complain about the SEC getting more teams. I'm complaining on behalf of the Big 12 today. Because I think the Big 12 should have had more teams in than the SEC should have switched them and had 8 teams in. Why is Texas in? Right? So that's my beef. Have another ACC team in there. The SEC did not deserve the most bids. Otherwise, what are we doing here? Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.